All right. Welcome to our Tuesday, March 1st special session board meeting. We're opening out at 6 p.m. Please stand and join me in pledge allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. In attendance tonight, we have all of our directors, Director Carey, Director Kincaid, Director V. Chaden, and myself. So our first interview will start in just a few minutes. Pardon? Again, Beach. Yeah, again. I'm trying to hype it. I'll just look at it next time. So our first interview will start in just a few moments. I thought I'd go over the process. So each candidate will have 30 minutes to interview with a 5-minute break between each. So that's the plan for this evening. We will be asking a set of questions to each candidate, the exact same questions to each candidate, and supporting their and listening to their answers from there. Each candidate will have the same amount of time and the exact same questions. So that's the process. After that, we are going to go into executive session to discuss. We're not going to deliberate. We're just going to discuss, go through any questions we might have about the candidates, but we're not going to deliberate on the consensus. That is done in public session, which will happen after that, after we come out of executive session. We'll hopefully make a choice tonight. If we do make a choice tonight, we will inform the candidates who've been selected this evening. And if possible, we would even be able to have them join the board tomorrow at our regular scheduled board session. So yeah, that's the plan for this evening. First candidate will be here in just a few moments. So we'll wait patiently. I'm just going to read all questions round robin. Get too confused. So I'm just going to read them all. Okay. Yeah.
Maybe Mr. Chair, share that each has 10 minutes with the questions and start it.
Yeah, each candidate will have 10 minutes with the questions beforehand. So they're not.
And that clock started at 5:55.
But yeah, that's why we're waiting, because it's the first candidate got the questions at 5:55. Any questions on the process?
So is this just for us to put notes or whatever?
Yeah, this is where you can take notes if you like.
Okay.
Yeah. We'll get a packet for each candidate. That's a separate one for each candidate.
Okay.
So since we're not starting Peter to 6:05, does he have till 6:35?
6:35, yeah, we'll bump everyone back 5 minutes.
Okay.
Yeah. So,
Hey, Peter.
Hi.
let's see you. Are you keeping the clock? You got the clock? So each candidate receives 10 minutes to review questions. You still have a few more minutes. If you want to take those questions, you can, or you can start now if you'd like, but make sure you have 10 minutes if you need them.
We can go ahead.
Good. So, all right. So before we start, I'm going to explain the process.
Okay.
I will be asking you each question, and then feel free to respond. You have 30 minutes to answer all questions. Understand, and you can ask me anytime to clarify, or maybe not clarify, but like reread a question. Because we all have masks on, it's hard to understand sometimes. So let's go ahead and begin. So Peter, please tell us about your background and why you're interested in seeking a position on the school board. In your opinion, what qualities and skills make you a person that's effective, that would be an effective board member? Well, I'm sorry, what qualities and skills make a person an effective board member?
Yeah, absolutely. So my background, K through 12 was in a public school district. So I greatly appreciate the importance of public school and its role that it plays in developing everybody. I went to Cambiac High School in Mukilteo, so not too far away from here. And after that, I went to Edmonds Community College, got an AA, just general studies, went to the University of Washington for my BS in theological studies, which then I graduated, started to work as a consultant while I was getting my master's in applied geoscience. Completed that. And then after about 4 years, I realized that really what I enjoyed about the education system was identifying my ability to continue to press myself and realizing that my possibilities really were limitless, so long as you can actually really invite in the education system, and that's both the public level and then at the university level. So then from there, like I said, my occupation at the time was a consultant as a geologist, and it was not tickling that urge to continue to learn, right? And so what better industry to jump on into than tech? So tech is always ever changing. And so that's why I jumped in there, and across a little bit under a 6-year span, as my letter indicated, right, I have grown into basically managing a $35 million business that grows 40% year over year. So as far as what would make somebody an effective board member, it's just being available, being transparent in the decisions that are made. And it also has to do with being able to actually gather that information and in a non-biased way, right? We're all here for the community. And so I believe that the best board member would be somebody that has an opinion, but has the ability to change that opinion, given new information, new data, new experiences from the community.
What do you consider to be the opportunities and challenges of the Granite Falls School District? What do you think is the most pressing issue or issues affecting the district? The opportunities and challenges of the Granite Falls School District, first and foremost, do appear to just be that financially we're not aligned with what a desired outcome would be. There seem to be a lot of shortcomings, excuse me, of what the desired goal is, which was to have people leave our school district with a great education and an understanding of how to learn. Really, I think that's what we need to understand within the education system. Is it's not actually learning the little tactile pieces and algebra and all this stuff. It's learning how to learn and how to problem solve. So we're kind of losing that within the community, I feel like, with levies not being passed. And that's in a mixture of where I feel like we could provide more clarity to the community through specifically what is the money going towards, right? And laying that out, making that publicly available, making that, as I know it already is publicly available, but making it something that is readily available, and for lack of a better term, right, shove it in people's faces, right? Let them see it, let them know what's going on. If they want it, it's readily available. They're not having to go on a witch hunt for it. Having a public position puts a spotlight on you in this small town. It requires you to address many potential hot button items. Oftentimes, the board must deliberate over a controversial topic. Let's say there is a topic in which you disagree with the majority vote of the board. While shopping locally, you're confronted by an upset parent who thinks the same as you. How will you handle this situation?
So I will use this principle that I have, and that's disagree and commit. So although that you disagree in principle to what's going on, understanding that the needs of the community, which that's the other 4 board members here are elected officials as well, they also represent the needs of the community. So one person should not outweigh the needs of the many, so to speak. So within that environment, explaining why the decision was made how it was and the desired outcomes that decision holds.
Friends, parents, as well as staff will come to you with emotionally charged feelings, concerns, questions, etc. How will you handle controversial discussions regarding the school district in public or in private?
Both public or private, they actually mean or make no difference to me. Anything that comes to me, there are processes in place. And if there's a problem with the process, then that's a discussion for the board. But if people are coming with emotionally charged issues, we need to actually go through, I guess, the mechanisms that are already put in place. And I specifically use the term mechanism because a process is something that can be broken and people keep going through. A mechanism is something that can be iterated on. So it's something that you can actually go back and change how things are done based off of data that's coming in. So I would just say, as long as we're developing or have good mechanisms in place that we can go in and change and iterate based off of the feedback that we're getting, I'm going to keep pointing back to that, and there's not going to be any harsh undertones behind that.
As a community member desiring to be on the board of directors, how will you balance the role of citizen/parent and public official on social media platforms?
Well, so citizen/parent on social media platforms as of right now. I post our family vacations and stuff is about it. I think the more interesting thing would be actually being a much more present figure in social media as a board member. We all have technology in our hands, or a majority of us have technology in our hands on a daily basis. And I do believe that there are some mechanisms in place that we could put that would make ourselves more available to the community. Every restaurant that you go into nowadays has a QR code to scan for the menu, right? We should have this sort of information readily available at all of our public spaces so that people can get the information if they want to. Sharing that information through a social media account that I could use on this platform to help not only give information, but much more importantly, receive information from the community. Individual meetups, larger community gatherings, something where we can actually get information from the public. And as far as I try to steer away from anything that's politically charged in any way, shape, or form with a strong opinion on any social media platform. And reason behind that is because I'm a very open-minded individual, and I believe that everybody has an opinion for one way, reason, or another. And it's never an okay position to tell somebody that they're wrong, but to seek for understanding instead. And so that's what I would use social media platforms for, is to gather much more information from our peers.
District mission statement states that we are dedicated to the individual development of each student. What does that mean to you, and how would you want the board of directors to focus on student achievement to ensure all students are learning?
So this one's really tricky because I know COVID has definitely thrown a wrench in things. The individual development of each student is also tricky because we just came from the Lake Stevens School District, and our children appear to not be challenged within their current grades in comparison to the Lake Stevens School District. Now, one thing that I would like to understand more as part of this position and where I would be able to actually create influence is when we're identifying where students sit and where they are in the educational spectrum, what are we doing to actually pull them up instead of just meeting where they are? And everybody has an individual path, but how are we actually catering to that path individually? That seems to be an actual big struggle with the monetary constraints that it seems like we have. I came from a school with an excess of resources, and it was still extremely difficult for children to get to learn in those environments. And so how we can dedicate and really work on individual development for each student is that's a platform I believe that I would primarily be focused on in a role such as this. So I don't really have an answer on how I would do that, but that's really where I would come in and try to learn.
Do you support the direction the Granite Falls School District is headed in at this time? If not, what things would you like to see addressed or changed if you were on the board?
To be blunt, no, I do not support the direction the Granite Falls School District is heading at this time. Reason being is we really need to work backwards from the outcome, right? We really need to, as a community, we need to understand that the outcome that we're looking for is for our students to leave these schools with a great education, and that meaning the ability to have problem-solving skills. Things like the STEAM building or the CTC building that were built with a desire of inspiration to come cannot be something that we continue to do. What we have to do is we have to say, here's the goal. Now, what are the ways that we can achieve that goal? Okay, we all agree on how we can achieve that goal. Now, how do we actually fund that goal? And how can we lay that out in a very clear manner to the public so that they know what they're investing in and they know what they are bringing to the table? It's something that very easily, when we just throw money out there, that very easily loses trust within the public. And it is so hard to gain that back if we don't have that level of transparency of the outcome that we're looking for. The outcome is not a building for teaching. The outcome is the education that comes out of that building.
In attempting to reach all stakeholders in the community, what equitable communication methods would you like the board/district to use to reach students, families, staff, and residents?
Yeah, so I touched on this a little bit earlier in terms of just using, technology that becomes tricky when we talk about equitable, right? I don't know the statistics within our community of how many people actually have smartphones with the access to, scan a QR code similar to an example that I gave earlier. But excuse me, things of those manner, right? Where if a large portion enough of the community has these capabilities, we really need to work hard to get that out. It can't just be if you're part of this, Facebook community, if you're part of, whatever page to see what's coming on. It is our duty, or I believe that it would be our duty as the board to actually go out and disseminate that information just as equally as it is for people to come look for it, right? It's a two-way street. People are going back and forth. And so I would love to learn more about what we would define to be as quote unquote equitable. Because like I said, I'm sure there are plenty of people that also don't have the advent of cell phones and smartphones and stuff to do that. And I would love to then use that information that I've learned to actually go gather information from the community about, okay, if you can't gather information this way, what would be the desired method, right? Are we doing flyers? Are we doing, like I said, poster boards or something at, IGA or Lila's or something along those lines? Like how we just need to find a way to get the information out to people if they want it.
How do you think we can demonstrate to the community the importance of passing 2 levies without increasing division among the community?
Transparency. And I'll use the phrase, right? Explain it to me like I'm 5, right? And it's the understanding that we need to see exactly where everything is going, right? Obviously, these levies were created, I'm hoping, from a design of this is where we want to go, and this is what we need to have in order to get there. Now, how did we get to that number? And to present that number widely available. Once again, I understand that we can go in, a lot of this information is publicly available, you can go find it, but Mr. Joe, Mrs. Jane are not, but if they have to go make several phone calls and go dive super deep into all these different things, they're not going to do that, right? They want the information because it almost feels like a cloak and dagger thing, right? If it's not just readily available and out there for people to consume. And so transparency is the biggest thing. And then we can start to have the discussion of, I don't think that we should spend X amount of dollars on new textbooks. Okay, great. Now we're in Discord and now we understand, okay, why don't you believe, where would this money be better spent, right? And so we're actually having communications back and forth through that. And so I think right now people don't necessarily understand where several $1 million would be going, right? We've obviously had several boiler outages or heaters and stuff like that. And just even saying, right, we have maintenance issues that need to be taken care of and that would cost this much. And I think that if we're able to make that very clear to anybody that wants that information at the drop of a hat and they still have problems, then like I said, that's great because then that opens up the discussion of why we're here and getting that feedback from the community.
If nominated, you'll be up for election next year. Would you seek public election at that time? Why or why not?
Yes, I would. And the reason would be the same reason why I'm here in front of you today. It's because I believe that our school systems could be better. And I am willing to dive into that and to really do everything that I can to make sure that we are making our schools a better place for our kids.
We appreciate your response to our questions. Are there things you would like to share that we may not have asked or you feel are important for us to know when considering your candidacy?
My main goal, right, is just so I mentioned in my letter of intent here that we came here and I had an understanding, or I had a misconception that public school is public school. There's a curriculum, everybody follows it. And so we moved out here, for a little bit more space, a little bit more of a small town feel. The unfortunate thing is we were slapped upside the head with a bunch of reality, and lack of having bus drivers and communications, especially during these tough times during COVID. Teachers, we're sharing counselors at middle or at elementary schools. All of these different things that are coming through that just made me stop and say, I was really wrong about making these assumptions that every school district's the same. It's probably just, at home and how are people, being treated that way and how much do parents value education and everything. But I do see that there's some sort of connection that we have to make within the community. And so if that's me, great. I'd love to serve and I would love to be on this board and to help us make that better school system. If it's not, that's great too, so long as it's somebody that will drive that change forward, right? That is why I'm here, full stop. There's really no other reason, so.
Do you have any questions for us?
Well, I mean, none that I would say aren't tactical, right? I mean, we could dive into deep thoughts. Like I'd be curious for individual thoughts, maybe on a, I'd be curious on individual thoughts for things of, how would you go about, doing this one tactical thing of, sharing out to the community? Like I would love to spitball ideas back and forth. I think that's more of probably on the board position as far as large scale communication pieces for the purposes of this meeting. I actually don't have any questions for you. Any other one-off questions or?
All right, that completes all the questions I have. Just again, the process of what's going to happen is we're going to go through all the interviews this evening. We're going to go to executive session to just go over notes. We'll deliberate in public and make a decision in the public meeting. And then we'll inform all the candidates of their decision. If you want to come back for the actual selection, you can. If not, we will call either way every candidate this evening.
Okay. Cool. Well, I will be here. And that, actually, that question, around what rough time would that be if the?
So our last interview is scheduled for about 7:45.
Okay.
Executive session. My thoughts take us half an hour to an hour, honestly.
Okay.
We could, we'll put it on YouTube when we're about to come out, won't we? Or because we'll have to post it, it on YouTube.
Okay.
But my rough guess is the public session will probably be around 8:30, 8:45. Does that seem like a reasonable guess?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sounds good. Well, thank you, and I appreciate you for your time today.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you, Peter.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. We catch next week. All right, Dave Green. Please tell us about your background and why you're interested in seeking the position on the school board. In your opinion, what qualities and skills make a person an effective board member?
Sure. My background, I've been in Granite Falls for 22 plus years. We purposely moved here because of the school system. We wanted to be a part of a school system that was involved with where we could be involved with our kids. First, my wife then became a teacher, and both of us did a lot of volunteering in the school system and really appreciated the time we got to spend with our kids and teachers and different projects that we've done with the school. And that's all I got for now.
What do you consider to be technical issues? Hold on 1 second. 28. We're about 2 minutes off, or 20 minutes off. Okay. Anyone? That sounds right.
I got it.
What do you consider to be the opportunities and challenges of the Granite Falls School District? What do you think is the most pressing issue or issues affecting the district?
Well, let's go with the opportunities. We are close-knit community that likes to work together. I think that helps. The challenge is, unfortunately, is that the miscommunication that got out about our levies, and that everybody thinking that they were getting their taxes raised, when in fact those levies were just a continuation of what we already had. And as the most pressing issue is our regionalization factor, where the state is definitely overlooking our needs, giving the money to other communities around us, and not getting the right amount of money to our district.
Having a public position puts a spotlight on you in this small town. It requires you to address many potential hot button items. Oftentimes, the board must deliberate over a controversial topic. Let's say there's a topic in which you disagree with the majority vote of the board. While shopping locally, you're confronted by an upset parent who thinks the same way as you. How will you handle this situation?
Well, I ran into this in the past when I was previously on the board, and I try to explain to them, that one, there's more than one person on the board, and it takes more than two people to make a decision on the board. You gotta at least have three. And I try to make them realize that we're in a democratic system, that, we gotta work together and support one another, not just bash on each other.
Friends, parents, as well as staff will come to you with emotionally charged feelings, concerns, questions, etc. How will you handle controversial discussions regarding the school district in public and in private?
Well, it's just kind of along with the question before. I'll try to be rational with what was being discussed, and try to calm the situation down.
As a community member desiring to be on the board of directors, how will you balance the role of citizen/parent and public official on social media platforms?
I just recently got one social media platform. The other one I'm not on very much. I don't see that that's really applies to me, because I don't really use social media.
The district mission statement states that we are dedicated to the individual development of each student. What does this mean to you, and how would you want the board of directors to focus on student achievement to ensure all students are learning?
Well, I really appreciate that the focus is on the students. One thing I like about being on the board is that we did every year have a different school that we were kind of be able to mentor with, and the opportunities that gave us to actually be in some of the schools and find the focus and that needed to go into what the students are doing. Yeah, so I got.
Do you support the direction of the Granite Falls School District is heading at this time? If not, what things would you like to see addressed or changed if you were on the board?
I think the direction's in the right way, because I know that we're trying to get the levy to pass, and we're also trying to take care of the regional you know what I'm talking about, the regionalization thing, which I think are what really are the pressing issues for our school district. Since those are where we be able to get the capital to fund our students.
In attempting to reach all stakeholders in the community, what equitable communication methods would you like the board/district to use to reach students, families, staff, and residents?
Sorry, which one's that?
In attempting to reach all stakeholders in the community, what equitable communication method would you like the board/directors to use, board/district to use to reach students, families, staff, and residents?
Well, I think we got a good communication going on right now with, you know, the email, the little Facebook things that you guys do. I just continue with probably increasing what we put out, especially about the levy stuff, so that the community knows. Maybe work with our town hall also.
How do you think we can demonstrate to the community the importance of passing the two levies without increasing division among the community?
Well, I think that comes to the fact that we need to have people realize that the levies are not an increase in their taxes, but a continuation to supporting the schools at the rate that they're at right now.
If nominated, you'd be up for election next year. Would you seek public election at that time? Why or why not?
Yes. Yes, I feel dependent upon who's running. Say it.
We appreciate your responses to our questions. Are there things you would like to share that we may not have asked or you feel are important for us to know when considering your candidacy? No. Do you have any further questions for us?
No.
That concludes the questions. As far as process goes, what we're going to do, we're going to complete the interviews this evening. We're going to go into executive session to just discuss the interviews. We're not going to deliberate. We're deliberate in public, in the public meeting, which we're guessing will start around 8:30, 8:45. If you'd like, you can attend that public part of it. We can let you know when we start. But either way, after we do our public deliberation, we're going to vote and choose a new board member, and we'll call all the candidates regardless and let them know which way we went. So that's the process for tonight. Okay. All right, welcome. So brief description of what's going to happen. Oh, I'm sorry. Are we live? Okay. You will be asked the same questions as all the other candidates. We'll go through them one at a time. We have 30 minutes to answer all the questions. So if we can take as much time as you want on each question, understand there is a limit of 30 minutes. At that 30-minute mark, we'll be done.
Okay.
If you need me to repeat a question at any time, go ahead and ask me to, or some of them are kind of two-parters. So if you need me to go to the second part, it's not a problem. These questions come from the board of directors, historic questions we've asked in the past, and also from members of the community. So that's where the
Okay.
questions come from. Ready to begin?
Yeah.
All right, so Kylie Walker. Please tell us about your background and why you're interested in seeking a position on the school board. In your opinion, what qualities and skills make a person an effective board member?
So I attended Granite Falls High School. I'm a mother to 3 girls in this district. I am interested in seeking this position because I think it is an important time for us to speak up for our children and to support our families' rights. My skills are that I'm organized, I'm focused on the community. I have a lot of ties to the Granite Falls community. And I think to be an effective board member, to understand the policies, the procedures, and I've done a lot of research out over the last year on school law and policies and Washington state law, and even read the handbooks and everything else to be prepared for this position.
All right. What do you consider to be the opportunities and challenges of the Granite Falls School District? And what do you think is the most important, what do you think is the most pressing issue or issues affecting the district?
I think opportunities we have to help our children is obviously academic success, our financial aspect of the district, where we're spending our money and how we're going to keep our funds coming in. And also, I think the biggest challenge is probably parental involvement. I understand obviously what it's like to be a parent with kids and sports and work and everything else, but I think that is an area we're really lacking. Hear me?
Yeah,
Okay.
Having a public position puts a spotlight on you in this small town. It requires you to address many potential hot button items. Oftentimes, the board must deliberate over a controversial topic. Let's say there's a topic in which you disagree with the majority vote of the board. While shopping locally, you're confronted by an upset parent who thinks the same as you. How will you handle this situation?
So I think that no matter what, no one's on the board to make friends. You're here to do what you believe is right. And if I think that I know I'm doing what's right and my yeses are yes and my no's are no's, and I'm following through with what are the facts and the data that's presented, then parents have to know that you're doing the best you can in that situation. And we aren't all going to agree all the time. That's a given. There's no other way to go around that. Parents are going to have their issues and their concerns that are maybe different than ours. And that's always going to be the way it is, you know. Sometimes they think bullying is the biggest concern. Sometimes they think academics are the biggest concern. And no matter what, you're going to do what you have to do and what you think is right.
Friends, parents, as well as staff will come to you with emotionally charged feelings, concerns, questions, etc. How will you handle controversial discussions regarding the school district in public and also in private?
First of all, I'd want to make sure that every parent is heard and that they feel like we're understanding what they have to say. I know I've had my own issues with the board, and I know how hard it is to feel alone, but there's policies about that we have to follow of what can be discussed, what can't be discussed. And that is important, that parents understand we're trying our best.
Sorry, I'm taking notes.
Oh, sorry.
No, I'm just going as fast as I
I'm
can.
talking fast.
All right. As a community member desiring to be on the board of directors, how will you balance the role of a citizen/parent and that of a public official on social media platforms?
I want to use my social media and my sphere of influence to be a positive voice for the district on social media. I think there's a lot of confusion of what parents think. Even take the levy situation. Parents just didn't understand, you know, they didn't understand that it was less than $80 a month for my taxes. And it wasn't basic knowledge. You have to research all those things and call the county assessor and do those things, which it could very clearly be stated to every parent. hey, what if your tax was only $50? Are your kids worth $50? Is that opportunity worth it? You know?
The district's mission statement states that we are dedicated to the individual development of each student. What does that mean to you, and how would you want the board of directors to focus on student achievement to ensure all students are learning?
I'm all for a free and fair and equitable education, but sometimes saying that isn't enough. I think that education has to be broken down to provide success for our students. Not every child's going to learn the same. Not every child's going to have the same interests. So being there for each individual student is so important.
Do you support the direction the Granite Falls School District is headed at this time? If not, what things you'd like to see addressed or changed if you were on the board?
I'd probably say that I don't. We love our school district. We love our teachers. We've never really had issues. My oldest is in 8th grade, and I think that we've always had a positive experience. But I think COVID has hurt so many of our families, and the trust that people have in the district just isn't there anymore. I think once we forget about COVID protocol, we can begin to focus on education and the well-being of our students again.
In attempting to reach all stakeholders in the community, what equitable communication methods would you like the board/district to use to reach students, families, staff, and residents?
I think we're in a time where no matter what, we're going to have to use 50 different means of communication, whether it's Facebook or email or phone calls or all of the above, text messages. And I don't think there's any changing that. I don't think the district does a bad job of reaching everyone. Today, though, I did get my first progress report, which I was like, way to go. Someone sent me a math grade.
How do you think we can demonstrate to the community the importance of passing the 2 levies without increasing division among the community?
Like I said, I spent myself on my own time days researching the levy. I had plenty of questions for the district. I called the assessor, I called the county, I did all of the math myself, which I think breaking it down like that and really showing people is going to be so important. People would spend that money anyways, whether it's paying for their kid to go to gymnastics or go to ballet or anything else. People are going to spend that money on their kids. And I think that's what people don't realize is that it's crucial for us. And, you know, if it costs $80 a month, then that's probably something every parent would be willing to give.
If nominated, you'd be up for election next year. Would you seek public election at that time? Why or why not?
I would. I actually ran for election this year as a write-in campaign, and I received 25% of the city's votes. So I would definitely seek re-election.
We appreciate your responses to our questions. Are there things you would like to share that we may not have asked or you feel are important for us to know when considering your candidacy?
So I thought about this a lot today, and I think right now it's important that we all talk about parental involvement. I had a discussion earlier this week that was not that we just want parental compliance, but we actually want involvement from our parents. And if our parents are failing our kids and our parents aren't at home reading with our kids, or we aren't sending homework home for our kids to learn at home, no matter what, our kids are going to fail, you know? And so I think that's a super important thing and something that is only going to improve the district in every aspect, whether it's bullying or safety or having not enough paraeducators or recess duty people. And I think that's crucial for Granite right now, especially in a small community in a town where we all know what's going on all the time, you know? I think that's it.
Okay, thank you. Do you have any further questions for us?
I do not.
Those are all of our questions. But just to go over the process, we are gonna go into executive session just for a little bit to kind of go over the questions and, talk amongst ourselves. We aren't going to deliberate our choices. We're not going to come to any consensus in executive session. We're going to say that for the open public meeting as required. We don't expect the executive session to take more than 45 minutes to an hour. After that time, we'll come back and open back up, and everyone's free to be part of the part where we do come to consensus and vote.
Okay.
If you want, we're gonna go for about 45 minutes. I think, yeah, we'll go for 45 minutes. If we need to extend, we'll reopen and then extend again. But sort of expecting about 45 minutes,
Perfect.
be part of that. And if you do want to go somewhere, we can message you.
Okay,
Melanie can message you, let you know when we're getting out of the executive session.
perfect.
Either way, if we do come to decision time, we're gonna call every candidate, whether they're here or not. So we make them aware of our choice.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Hand out.
Thanks, Connie.
Thank you. Yeah.
Why do I have it here? All right, so board, we are gonna go into executive session. We'll take a 5-minute recess so we can bio break, whatever we need to do. We will have that executive session last. We'll do 45 minutes and extend it if we need to at that time. Sound good to everyone? Okay. Is our sound on? Yes, it is. We hear back, see if he's on his way. We're gonna wait to see if the other candidate's on his way, give him a few minutes. So the meeting's in session again, we're just gonna wait to make sure, if Dave's on his way, I don't want to just start without it. He might go out to work.
Did he text you?
We'll just give him a minute.
Did you have?
I don't have.
Tried to.
I think Carl was only doing that cookie, right? I know you didn't have to.
I didn't know, because I had this one, but this one was kind of dry.
Okay. All right, so we're back in session. At this time, we're going to actually go through the candidate selection process. So board, at this time, we can have a discussion about different candidates and how we're feeling, who we plan on voting for. Or if someone's willing, you can make a motion to nominate someone. And to the second, we can vote at that time.
I'm willing to make a motion.
Okay,
I make a motion that we nominate Dave.
so there's a motion on the floor to nominate Dave Green. Is there a second to that motion? So I'm sorry. So he nominated Dave Green. So please put a motion to nominate Dave Green. If there's a second, then we have discussion about it. We can vote yes or no.
So would there have to be a second?
Yes. If there's no second, then the motion dies.
So if I second that motion, all I'm saying is.
That you're nominating, that you want to nominate him. Then we'll have discussion about it and vote on it. Does that make sense?
No.
So you can second a motion and still not.
And still vote no. You're not saying that you want to vote for it. You're saying that you want to talk about it and then vote on it. No, this is putting the motion and then we talk about it and we vote yes or no.
I got you. All right, then I'll second it. Sounds good.
So we have a motion and a second discussion.
I think Dave presents the best option in the year and a half before the voters vote. The candidates run. Hit the ground running and contribute.
Why I think. Okay. Any other discussion, questions, comments? I'd love to if I could hear from everyone.
I didn't hear a passion in his answers. Or in his letter that he wrote us, I didn't hear
the issues that I wanted to hear. So I didn't see a passion for that. And I think we're ready for change. And he, didn't run this last time around, and he had the opportunity to. So I think he had the opportunity to and he didn't take that opportunity.
Questions, comments, discussion?
I have known Dave for 18 years, and I know that he has a passion for the school district and for the students here, and I know that I've absolutely loved serving with him. I'm not certain how committed. I think it's important for our district that we have continuity, and I know that who we're appointing today, we're trying to ensure that we're going to have continuity over time, right? That we're going to be together, working together as a team. And it's a difficult position to appoint somebody today and know that in a year and a half, one way or another, even if they choose to run and they commit to running today, the voters decide in a year and a half. And so the decision is not in our hands. So we're making the best decision we think we can make for our students today. And I'm not certain that Dave wants to run again or not. I wasn't certain based on his answer, so.
That's fair. I have a lot of the same concerns. I've seen Dave's passion over the years on the board. I've seen it reignite. But at the same time, I mean, there's a lot of validation of get a new perspective on the board. We're looking for continuity for, progression over the next year and a half until there is a, election of the public where they can make the will be known and the choice heard. There's a reason the process is in place the way it is. We're pretty much in essence picking a placeholder till the community has the opportunity to elect someone. So the doctor said, there's a placeholder available who knows the role, can jump in and fill it immediately until, in a very short year and a half, we can, run another election. But I mean, I'm talking circles. I see that also as an opportunity to get a new perspective in that year and a half. With the board already in place, one more new perspective might be good. So, yeah, I have to say this has been the hardest deliberation discussion we've ever had. I've done this several times in the past. This was definitely by far the hardest. So, any other comments, questions?
Just piggybacking off of what you said about him, kind of not really committing or, to running again. I'd just like to see someone who has that fire that they want this badly, that they're going to keep fighting for it.
Yeah.
And I just didn't feel that.
I did want to make one thing clear is if we vote and there's a no vote, we can later on nominate again. I mean, you can see if it happens again. So I just want to point that out. You can renominate if you want down the road. So, so this first motion was made for Dave Green. It's been seconded. So I'm going to call what's the floor. So all in favor?
Aye.
And opposed? Nay.
Nay.
Nay. Okay. I'm willing to accept another motion or further discussion on this topic. I'll make a motion. I'd like to motion that we nominate Peter Ledoux to fill the vacant board position.
I'll second that one too.
A motion and a second. Discussion, please.
Discussion.
I usually go last with the board chair. I always make myself go last, just to have it.
Well, I appreciated the time and effort that Peter made to introduce himself to each of us, and though he's, a newer member of the community, he represents a portion of our community that is newer, and we have a lot of newer homes, newer developments, newer folks moving into town, and then we sort of also and there's this part of me that's like, well, we have Granite that has been Granite strong forever, and there's nothing wrong with that, and we have new families moving in, bring in a different perspective. They've anyway, so I appreciated the representation. I appreciated that somebody that is new would just come in and jump right in and say, I'm willing to serve. And I appreciated that time. I appreciated some of the passion and the enthusiasm for ideas going forward.
Any other comments, discussion?
My only thing, I really appreciated Peter's passion and you know, his willingness to step up and run for this. My only concern, kind of piggybacking off of what Tina said, is that he is so new to the community. And, you know, I question if he, you know, really understands the community yet, and understands the needs and wants of Granite.
Carl? Comments, questions, concerns? No? For me, again, this is one of the more challenging nomination processes, deliberation process we've gone through. And one thing I like is the excitement to get the hands dirty and really, you know, get into work and learning how the process works and changing what can be changed and make things better for our students. I feel there's a real passion there. I like that Peter represents a section of the community that's not really, I mean, it needs to be represented on the board. We've had a lot of growth. Bringing the people from the new growth into the fold is going to be the best way to do it. I see a lot of arguments about, you know, old versus new Granite. I don't want old versus new Granite. I want Granite. I want Granite strong, not old Granite strong or new Granite strong. And I think, to me, that's a benefit of someone like Peter, who's newer to the community, who came from the outside and has wanted to be part of the inside and be part of the process. So that's why I nominated Peter. If there is no other comments, forever, hold your peace. I will call it to a vote. All in favor for Peter Ledoux? Aye. And opposed?
Yay.
Okay, all right. So that is 3-1. That does carry the majority. Do we need a roll call vote for that, actually? I'm sorry. No, we don't need a roll call vote for this one. I'm trying to remember procedurally if we need a roll call. So we have, as a board, selected Peter Ledoux to fill the vacant board position. We will discuss it with Peter and discuss our decision with the other candidates. And we will try to get him on the schedule, on the agenda for tomorrow to be sworn into office. At this time, we are closing our meeting. It is 8:43 p.m.